Welcome to Valencia. Or not. Well, kind of, but not really. I lied to you again, but not fully. I'll tell you later. In the last episode, I excitedly galloped into Valencia ready to experience all of the joys that come with grinding an endgame zone. Only I learned that it is still way beyond my gear level, and that mob density used to be very lacking in comparison to what it is today. Having gained another 17 AP over what I had before, thanks to getting my Aloria ad Sphere to try, I felt that I might be ready to take on Valencia. I ran out to the Gaha's bandits to show them my newfound power, but honestly the clear speeds were still quite slow. No worries though, I had another theory about what might really be going on here. See, I remember grinding Valencia quite a bit, but not until level 58 and beyond. I actually used to grind Helms from level 50 to 58, and then I would generally venture out into the desert. So, with this in mind, I popped my daily XP buffs and started grinding Sazens like there's no tomorrow. It is at this point that I must unfortunately admit that the many of you who talked about how great Sazens were correct. I wanted to convince myself that Sazens wouldn't be the gold mine that we all remembered it being, and despite making 6 million silver an hour previously, I still didn't want to admit that it was all that amazing. But now with 17 more AP and running my daily XP scroll, I can make 10 million silver an hour and gain 8% of a level every single hour. As a reminder, I make about 4 million silver an hour tops at any other location. So if you're ever complaining that Pearl Abyss can't balance grind zones, just remember that they weren't any better in 2017. After only a few hours of grinding, I found myself at 100 million silver and that sweet level 58. This was my first time leveling in almost a month, just to give you a little perspective on how fast this is going. You might be wondering why level 58 is so important to me. It surely can't make that big of a difference, can it? Well, as a witch, I can upgrade every single awakening skill at level 58 and even gain a new flow. That certainly isn't anything to scoff at. With level 58 achieved and my 255 skill points allocated into the new skills, I eagerly jumped onto my horse to finally grind Valencia. My first destination was Fogans, but on the way I figured I should try out Crescents, as that will be my next location after I get my Serap's necklace to at least pry. Okay, I'm dead. This is a bad time. Please don't hit me. Okay, I'm getting out of here. Too dangerous. I don't want to lose any crystals. I've already lost all my important crystals, but I don't feel like losing any more of them. Let me tell you, this was a mistake. I don't know what's up with Valencia's tuning at this stage of the game, but with 170 AP, I barely scratched the mobs, and with 224 DP, they are very scary. I died a couple times and lost a few crystals. Yippee. I figured it was time to accept that this grind spot was out of reach for a little while longer and just go to Fogans. Once I got to Fogans, the grinding really wasn't that much better than it was before. I think it's a little bit faster, but honestly not that noticeable. This could be attributed to the fact that I lost my memory crystals for my helmet though, each of which gave me +2 casting speed. With those broken, I've been sitting at 3 out of 5 casting speed, which is noticeably slower. Despite this, I did grind Fogans for a while in hopes of getting a Serap's necklace. No necklace, hardly any blackstones, and only a few scrolls, and I decided to call it quits and begrudgingly go back to Pirates to obtain a memory crystal. I figured getting this crystal can't be too difficult. I don't know the exact drop rate, but I mean it's a crystal. It's not like it's an accessory. Well, I got quite a few accessories after 3 hours there, but still no crystal. Hopefully one of these accessories will become a duo so that I can at least get a whole +1 AP from either the ring or the earring. Treats the game. The same developers that developed Starfield could make a really good Elder Scrolls game. It really just, they have to have a good production pipeline. 15 stack, please. I can't believe that actually made a 15 stack. I was wholly expecting it to not. Okay, let's see if we can get a pry. I honestly... Actually, getting a pry wouldn't be too bad. I mean, it's still useless. I have to make it a duo. Okay, alright. Fine, I think you're safe. Watch, it's gonna go +1 AP. Easy money. Okay, you might be at a little bit of risk, but there's still time. First duo accessory. I'd be pretty happy if it went. Also, fail stack is okay, I guess, but I'd rather it go. Okay, whatever. It's not like I even wanted those anyway. I would love to find a different crystal so that I can stop swimming out to Pirate Island, but because basically all of these old crystals have been removed from the game, I don't know what crystals there were or where to get them. Additionally, all of these crystals in my game are in German, which doesn't help me too much either. Fortunately, over the last month, I have gained a surprising amount of German viewers, a few of which helped me out on stream when I needed a translator. Seriously, thank you guys. It would be a lot harder without you. The topic of removed items has actually been a pretty difficult challenge for me this entire time that I don't think I've really talked about. For instance, the combined traces and fruits have been the bane of my crafting and alchemy existence. Generally, if you look up a removed item on BDO Codex, the item does still show up and shows the old recipes, but it does mean that I can't just look up the item I want to craft on BDOlytics or any other website and figure out the recipe from there. Instead, I have to look up each trace until I find the correct one that has the original recipe tied to it. This was a huge challenge for making my gathering clothes. The gathering clothes need a trace of forest. Since I know the name of the trace that I need, I should be able to just look it up, right? Wrong. In the patch that combined all of the traces, the trace of the forest got replaced with trace of nature, and all of the other traces got converted into that trace of nature. This means that if I look up the trace of the forest item ID, it shows the trace of nature, which then shows every single trace recipe and its source. Thankfully, I was able to find an old Incendar video that went over each trace node, so I could finally find the correct source of the trace of forest that I need for my gathering clothes. On the subject of struggling to craft almost anything, there has been yet another amendment to the challenge. Since I'm locked out of so many items by not being able to gather from anything that isn't an animal, and my workers only work a single job at a time, a new rule has been created. I am now allowed to convert an item that I can gather into an item that I should be able to gather but can't because of the broken gathering system, at a rate depending on how rare the item is. For common resources such as timbers, saps, grains, etc., it converts at a 1-to-1 ratio. 100 sheep hide turns into 100 ash timber. For uncommon resources such as rough stone and logs, I can convert my gatherers at a 2-to-1 ratio. 100 sheep hide turns into 50 logs. For rare resources such as the red tree lump, monk's branch, etc., I can convert my gatherables at a 5-to-1 ratio. 100 sheep hide turns into 20 tree lump. With that change, the Afaria meat boat is back on the menu. Just 32,000 lamb meat, and I'll have a functioning boat to sail the high seas with. Originally, this boat was going to cost me 800 million silver to buy the standardized timber, and I can't decide which fate is worse. On the subject of the Afaria sailboat, I have been slacking on the dailies. I've only done about 5 out of 20 dailies so far, but I'm not that worried because of the rest of the materials are still a really long way away. Since I now have a use for hides, turning them into other materials, I can finally start using some magic tools to get more hards and sharps from gathering. I turned in a bunch of my horse training seals from leveling my horses and turning them into glue, and filled my inventory with some magic tanning knives. And let me tell you, these things really roll in the hards and sharps. Just kidding, I really can't tell the difference, but I do think it is a little bit better. With all of that out of the way, I decided it was time to make yet another character at level 50 for 2 reasons. It's the same 2 reasons as my last character, which if you've been paying attention, you would know it's for even more night vendor rolls and more guild skills. Without access to guild missions, my only real source for guild skills is character experience. I'm about 2 characters away from being able to get my first guild skill, which will go into getting +1 gathering speed, bringing me 1 level closer to 5 out of 5 gathering. While leveling my wizard, I got sent to Rudums to farm for energy via a point redeem from one of my viewers. I was planning to go there anyway, but he sent me a little earlier than I had initially planned. I ended up being able to kill them pretty fast, even at level 20, and I did get all of my energy, so thank you for that actually. After that, I went to Catfish Men and still couldn't complete my energy. Someone said that the Water Strider knowledge may require shooting them with a matchlock, so I'm putting that on hold for the foreseeable future. Jumping over to my next level 50, a Valkyrie. Valkyrie was my first quote-unquote main in BDO. When I first started in 2016, I chose a Ranger because Ranger cool and all that, but around level 16, I ended up actually deleting that character and making a Valkyrie instead. This Valkyrie made it to level 32 or 34 before I ended up quitting BDO for about a year because other games piqued my interest. Whatever joy I found in pre-awakened Valkyrie was lost in 2016. I cannot seem to find it again, because this character was definitely not my favorite. Everything felt very clunky and just off. And you would be valid if you were to say that, well, obviously it feels bad, you didn't even put your skill points in until level 40, and I don't want to hear about it. Towards the end of my leveling session on my Valkyrie, I had a night vendor roll. I'm up to 12 every single night with my 4 level 50s. Just before rolling, I was thinking about how I'd be tempted to buy a dim tree if it rolled because it is slightly better than the red nose, but I didn't really want a 4th boss chess piece. And wouldn't you know it, the first roll of the night vendor was a dim tree. It took a lot of willpower not to buy it, because it would be my best in slot, but I decided to roll past it, and boy am I glad that I did. The literal next roll was a Muskin's boots. I'm feeling extremely lucky with this night vendor. When you consider that the odds of rolling some of these boss gears is 0.3%, the fact that I've rolled 4 in less than 200 rolls is pretty good. With these Muskin's boots, I am now once again extremely poor. I definitely see a bit of Sazens in the future. But now I have 3 out of 4 boss armors, and 4 out of 7 boss pieces in total. I'm feeling pretty good after that. Into the value storage it goes for me to not think about for a while. With my Muskins up on the chopping block for enhancements, I'm going to need some hards and memory fragments if I want to get these babies to try. At this point, I think you know what that means. More helms. My goal for the day was to do an hour or 2 at helms and then an hour or 2 at Sazens, but before I could make much progress, 2 little rascals in my chat decided to change those plans and sent me to Warrigon's Nest. My memory of Warrigon's was that this place was a 3-man grind spot and was absolutely worthless because it drops nothing and takes way too long to be useful. Well, that wasn't entirely wrong. They do take a long time to kill and don't drop anything useful, but they are easier to kill than I expected. I decided to make the most out of this punishment and gather blood while I was here. Not only did I get a fair amount of blood from these monsters, but I also got an energy point thanks to getting knowledge on all of the Warrigons in the area. This ended up not being the worst thing to ever happen to me. While I was in the area, I decided it would be a good idea to try out Bashims because a few people in my last video said that before the Valencia buffs, it was actually a pretty good grind spot. I don't necessarily think that they're wrong. I gave it an hour or so and they died fairly quickly and dropped okay loot, but there's certainly no Sazens. With that out of the way, I ran what scrolls I had and went back to Velia for some enhancing. I only have 2 slots left to get to try before I finish one of my goal sets and upgrade to 6x drop rates. But I don't have very many stones, so that's definitely not happening today. Remember for certain, but I feel like it's somewhere in that range. Yeah, let's build like a 5 stack here. And now, Muskins, you got this. Nice. If these Muskins go really easy, I'll be very happy. Let's go 7 stack, I guess? I don't know. I'm just choosing them as I go. 10, 11, 12. Okay, there we go. I don't know, once this breaks, maybe I'll repair my plus 11 red nose and then see where that goes. Beautiful. Cheap fail stacks. And if this goes 15, okay. That I'm going to use as a... I'm going to tap it 1 more time. 2 more times. 3 more times. Okay, 18 stack. That'll be a prize stack. I can't believe those gloves or those boots did not cooperate whatsoever there. All right, Black Spirit. Easy duo. Wait, you're saying it just goes? You want it to go now? I thought you wanted me to fail. All right, it does just go. The pre-awakening AP doesn't help me that much, but let's just see. It's gonna work. Wait, why do you want it to go? You'd lose. Oh my goodness, it actually went. Okay, I did not expect that. Congratulations, Rymar and Niven, you're poor. Blessing acquired, much appreciated. All right, let's go. Cover the Black Spirit. I didn't really go to a crab, but this is fine. Easy try. Look at that. Holy cow. I actually didn't think I would get that. I was fully prepared for it to fail. So that actually went better than expected. And since we're on a roll, there's no need to stop there. Unfortunately, I didn't think that this part would be worth recording, so, well, I'll just roll the clip. Okay, I'm just starting a recording really quickly because I didn't record this. Normally I would. But I forgot to turn in my last Gaiath quest during the stream, because when you fight him, he gives you a burn effect, basically, that doesn't let you turn in the quest because it just cancels your Black Spirit every time, so you have to wait for it to fall off before you turn the quest in. So I just completely forgot to turn in the last quest. And I also just grabbed another one for the daily. I was like, okay, I'll get it prepped. It was only 3 orbs. I was like, I'm not even going to record it. I don't have the recording software open. I don't really care because it's not going to give me the helmet. It's just going to, it's just going to give me junk. It's going to give me these 2 items right here. So, of course, the one time that I don't record it, I swear this is true, as much as I could spawn something in, it would say something down here if I did. This actually just dropped from here. Can't read German, but I'm sure it says looted from the thing. So I got it. Gaiath helmet achieved. GG, I guess. So maybe I'm just a teeny tiny bit carried. I've literally finished off all of my boss armors in about a month of playing on the 2017 client. I didn't get my first boss gear drop on the retail servers for years, and here I am getting 2 boss drops in only a few weeks. Now if I can get these boss armors all up to try, I would be a whole 40 DP higher than I sit right now. While that should be my next focus, I feel like I've been spending too much time in Medaya this episode, so I'll pay the Desert Fogans another visit. The scroll drop rate is actually significantly better than it was previously. I don't think going up to 6x drop rates is completely to thank for that. The Laverto does give more accuracy, so I may also be clearing a bit faster, and maybe I was just unlucky before. Unfortunately, even with this increased scroll luck, I did not get another Seraps necklace in my 2 hours at Fogans. I think I'm going to need at least a prize Seraps before I start farming out Crescent Rings, as well as a Kudum Dagger, or at least some food to increase clear speeds. On the topic of food, I have gone far too long neglecting my own sustenance. I decided to take a look through good old Incendar.com to find out what food buffs I might want to run and what might even be feasible to maintain. Obviously, I need milk tea, you don't have to tell me twice. For those of you who are newer to the game and don't remember milk tea, it is a food buff that in no way helps with clear speeds, but one that everyone ran in 2017 regardless. This overpowered food buff gives an 8% boost to combat XP. I cannot give that up. Fortunately, milk tea is pretty easy to make, all things considered. The only roadblock for me is the sunflower. Obviously, I can't buy it off the marketplace or gather it, so I will have to set up another farm for it. Here's where roadblock number 2 comes in. I moved my farm to Heidel because their growing conditions are bugged anyway, and went to buy another fence for the sunflowers. Except the NPC doesn't let me. I should be able to buy multiple fences from him, and I may just be doing it wrong. But because this also seems bugged, I ended up having to get a smaller fence from outside Velia for the sunflowers. 4 sunflower plants should be enough to keep my milk tea addiction going at least. The second food buff on my list is the ham sandwich. This succulent meal gives me a whopping plus 3 AP and plus 8 accuracy. This is before the days of plus 30 AP meals and plus 20 million monster AP on all of your weapons, so plus 3 AP is better than you might think. This meal is a little less forgiving. It requires 2 grilled sausage and 2 soft bread, as well as 5 paprika and 4 egg. Nothing in this recipe is necessarily difficult to get, but it is just a lot. My workers are already getting eggs, I'm gathering meat, pepper and onions are already on the farm, and so on. This meal will just come as my workers work and my farm farms. Finally, for the big meal that I used to run at all times. This meal was like breathing oxygen or drinking water for me once upon a time. The King of Jungle Hamburg. This dish of unknown shape and consistency gives me plus 5% critical hit damage. I know skill add-ons could easily provide this buff, but guess what? Skill add-ons are bugged and not functioning on this server. To make this meal, I need only a few ingredients. 4 lion meat, 4 teff bread consisting of 5 teff flour, 3 mineral water, 2 leavening agent, and 2 salt, 2 pickled vegetables consisting of 8 paprika, 4 vinegar consisting of 1 wheat, 1 strawberry, 1 leavening agent, and 1 sugar, 2 leavening agent and 2 sugar, and 3 nutmeg. Put in simple terms, piece of cake. I probably won't be making this meal for quite a while though. Not because it's difficult, but because I'm too lazy to set up nutmeg and teff nodes and butcher lions. Now jumping back to the gear progression. Over the next weekend, I had a sudden urge to grind. I logged into Modern BDO first to farm for my Elton Compass piece for an Iron Man run that you'll learn about in the future. I ended up sitting at the Dekia grind spot for about 5 minutes before it started to put me to sleep. I don't know how you guys sit in one spot using the same rotation over and over again with very little variation outside of when events occur, but I have to say I'm a little impressed. In order to wake up, I hopped on Classic and did about an hour and a half of Helms grinding. I know you're probably getting tired of hearing about Helms, so I'll be quick. I changed up my rotation and only farmed for the golems, sweeping the entire zone both above ground and below. This tactic is insanely efficient, and I ended up getting 17 Scarlet Necklaces and an Ancient Guardian Seal in an hour and a half, which then converted into 17 hards and 1 sharp. After that, I still had the itch to grind, so I went back out to Pirate Island. And yes, in case you're wondering, I am still swimming out there because I'm far too lazy to build a sailboat or even a raft. Fortunately, after a bit of grinding, I did get myself a single memory crystal to bring me up from 3 out of 5 casting speed all the way up to 5 out of 5. Hopefully, this makes a huge difference in my clear speeds. During the next stream, I went to do an hour at Helms and an hour at Sazens for hards and silver. I'll skip over these because nothing really interesting happened there. It was at the end of the grind that a viewer spent some channel points to make me enhance a piece of gear. here. Normally this redeem just means that I'll drop whatever I'm doing and go do an enhancement of my choice. The only way to choose what I tap is to redeem a roulette. In this case though, I was asked to tap a Scarlet Necklace, and since technically a duo Scarlet Necklace would be an upgrade, I figured I'd honor the request. Running back to Velia, I had 3 goals in mind. Get a duo Scarlet Necklace out of 3 necklaces. I had 10 in my inventory, but if the enhancements failed, I would not continue tapping. I need my hards after all. Beyond that, I was hoping to get both my Red Nose armor and my Gaiath helmet to try. The Red Nose should be pretty easy because it's already sitting at Pry and I have 36 hards at my disposal. Though memory fragments are starting to become an issue. Maybe I shouldn't have built fail stacks on my Red Nose back in the past. The Gaiath helmet would be upgrading from base, so that will be a little bit harder to achieve. After making a plus 15 stack on Reblath, I decided to start tapping on my Red Nose armor for duo. If the stack reached 20, I would tap my accessories before continuing to go for duo Red Nose. I didn't feel like blowing up accessories on low stacks this time. Okay, that's fine. Okay, it's only one more fail. I only need to fail one more time. Or if it goes, that's also fine, I suppose. Okay, beautiful. Now, we'll throw the Scarlet Necklace in. Scarlet Necklace is only a small, it's technically a downgrade of AP, but I get 7 more DP with this. So it's an upgrade / downgrade at the same time. I would like it to go duo. If it doesn't, I'm not that worried. Then with the Red Coral, it's actually a really small upgrade. It's like 2 gear score, 1 AP, 1 DP, but it is still a very nice upgrade to have. So I would like one of these to go. If not, whatever. Okay, and there we go, my first duo accessory. While technically this is a loss of AP, I gained 7 DP in its place, which if I was an AP monkey would be very disappointing, but as a more refined monkey, I find this to be an absolute win. With my first duo accessory out of the way, thank you to the chat for forcing me to do that enhancement by the way, because I never would have done it otherwise, I decided to set my focus on the Gaiath helmet. It didn't go great. I made a 16 stack going for a plus 10 helmet, at which point I decided to stop and tap my Red Nose armor. Being impatient, I clicked skip animation with this beautiful enhancement backdrop and tapped until it popped. Now for the try attempt. My Kuno had a 32 stack ready, so you all know what that means. Off to the lucky ocean crabs I go. The basket crab was off duty today, but I did see 3 crabs making a beautiful straight line, which I know the Black Spirit would approve of. Alright, let's see, are these crabs lucky? I don't know what the odds are on this, like I think a 30% chance or somewhere in that range, so let's see what we get. I'm not putting it over his face. I should do that. There we go. Look at that. Easy try. Okay. Going back to tapping the Gaiath helmet, it was still very stubborn and made an entire 20 stack without going to plus 10. With the 20 stack, I decided to throw my red coral ring into the enhancement window. I fully expect this enhancement to fail, and it's not that big of a deal if it does. It's only 1 AP and 1 DP, and I've already gotten 2 upgrades today. Let's see. Maybe the lucky roof cat will get it. Holy cow! 3 upgrades today. So, with yet another successful upgrade, that lands me at 170 Awakening AP and 257 DP. Though my AP didn't increase at all, I made huge DP gains in just 1 day. Hopefully, once I get my Gaiath and Muskins to try, I will have enough DP to survive Crescents and Peel of Fae scrolls. I don't really plan on losing any more crystals from scroll bosses. I still have a very long way to go, but I am very happy with the progress that I have made in these last few weeks. In the future, I still need to craft some Ultimate Reform Stones for my dagger and my Sphera, build a boat so I no longer have to swim to Pirate Island, craft horse armor so I can finally use my horse skills, cook food and craft potions so that I can push higher and higher grind spots, and obtain a tier 8 horse so I can finally fly across the continent in style. I hope you will join me next time where I maybe go to the desert more. I swear it'll happen soon. I wanted to take a second to apologize for this video taking a really long time to get out. It was originally supposed to be on the same normal cadence, quote-unquote normal cadence, of 2 to 3 weeks every video. I was running into the video editor crashing constantly on me during the editing of this video, and even deleted a section, so if you notice that the audio changes a little bit during the Valkyrie section, that would be why. I do have enough of a backlog now that I can probably get the next video out quite quickly, so that will be the goal. I don't want to leave you waiting as long as I did for this video.